Hey everybody, this is Kanan Raw here. I thought I'd do a video on some of the most frequently asked questions I get in the comment sections of my videos. I'm no expert, but I do try to help out and answer all those questions when I get them as best I can. And so I was just going to do this video so you could like maybe get a idea of what I do, and then maybe cross-reference with that with some other material somewhere else, and see how you want to raise your rabbits, and if you guys see that I'm doing anything like totally wrong, you can go ahead and tell me too. I'm always up for good advice. Anyway, I guess we start at the beginning. When is your rabbit ready to be bred? Well, first of all, on a rabbit this size, large breed rabbit, the minimum age is around 8 months. They can get pregnant much earlier than that, but you can get complications, and it's just not good if they start breeding before about 8 months. So you want to make sure your rabbit's old enough, and then you also want to make sure that they're healthy. If you have a rabbit who just had a litter and she's weaned, the rabbits were 6-8 weeks old, and you've removed them out of the pen, and you want to make sure she's back up to a good healthy weight. And how you do that is I don't take them out of the cage and weigh them. What I do is I feel their bodies, and you need to pet your rabbits so that when they're healthy. You can feel it. You can feel good meat on their bones. You don't feel the spine sticking out too severely. The hips, you want to make sure that there's good meat on the hips, so that if they do lose a little weight, you know it. Because if you don't handle your rabbits or pet your rabbits, all that fur hides a lot. So you want to make sure that they're good and healthy and ready to be bred. So once they're ready, you always take the doe to the buck's cage. I know this, you probably heard that on other videos, but that's the way you do it. If you bring the buck into her cage, he's going to be distracted. He's going to want to mark everything up. She might become territorial, and it can just cause problems. It doesn't always cause problems. I put a buck and a doe out in the pen that's out in the grass, and she was totally not interested in that buck at all. She was only interested in the pen and the grass. But as soon as I put them both in his cage, she was ready to lift right away. So it just, I think there's something with the buck's scent in his cage, where it's his territory, that causes her to want to lift for him. But so that's just you always take the doe to the buck's cage. And then when I do that, I put her in there, and normally she'll lift right away. So, things are done and over with within, 30 seconds to a minute if she's gonna lift. If she's not gonna lift, and you can tell she's really cranky and doesn't want to be there, just go ahead and remove her and try again later. There's no sense in, putting her through stress if she's not ready. But normally, almost every time she just lifts right away. It gets done maybe 2 or 3 times in a couple of minutes, and then she'll just kind of be done. So you can go ahead, and what I do is I remove her from the cage and I put her back in her own cage for about 2 hours, and then I'll put her back in with the buck again, and and just follow that same process maybe 3 or 4 times in a day, and then that way I know she's good and bred. I've never had a false pregnancy doing it this way, and I've always had some fairly large litter sizes, so that's the way I do it. It's not the only way. It might not be necessary to do all of that, but that's the way I do it. Alright, so once your rabbit's bred, I mark it down on a calendar, and then all of my litters have been delivered at exactly the 32nd day. So what I do is I mark it on a calendar the day that I breed her, and then I count out to 29 days. And she's flicking her tongue, I don't know. Anyway, so I count out to 29 days, and then that's the day that I put the nest box and the nesting material into her cage. You know, sometimes you'll give her hay for the day, and then she'll start building a nest, and it'll be like really early. And you know that a lot of people are like, oh my gosh, she's building a nest, she's going to have the babies. Well, that's not always the case. You know, she might build a nest early, but that doesn't mean she's going to have the litter. So you have to mark it on the calendar so you know when to expect the litter. So she'll build the nest almost right away on the 29th day. It's getting a little dark. I'm running out of light here. And then on the 32nd day she'll have them. So you need to come out maybe on the 31st night, 32nd day, and just check on her every hour would be good if you can. Because sometimes she'll have like 5 babies in the nest box, and then she'll think she's done and she'll jump out, and then she'll have one on the floor of the cage. And rabbits don't, I mean, she won't pick that rabbit up and put it in the nest. That rabbit will just die if you don't get to it in time and put it back in with the other bunnies to stay warm. If you do find one that's like really cold and unresponsive, I've heard that you can put them in some warm water, of course with their head out of the water. But put them in some warm water to get their body temperature back up, and then dry them off and put them back in with the bunnies. And I've heard that can help save them. I've saved a couple off of the wire, and they were still warm enough to put in with the bunnies, so I did that, and I've saved a couple of them that way. So you just need to know what day your rabbit's gonna have to kindle, and make sure that you're around to save any little bunnies that come out of the nest box. And then one of the things that I did not know when I first started, when I had my first litter, and I've gotten this question a few times, people that are just really concerned because their rabbit is not taking care of her litter. And I did, like I said, I did the same thing with my first litter, freaking out because my doe was not sitting on her bunnies like a mother hen would. So I'm thinking, oh my gosh, I'm gonna have to bottle feed these rabbits or something. So I run inside and I look it up, and I find out that's completely normal. Rabbits don't take care of their bunnies like a hen would. What they do in the wild, and this is just natural self-defense, is they'll build a nest, and then they'll make it, have their litter, and then they won't return to that nest, but like once or twice a day, and usually at night. So, and to nurse her babies, and the rest of the time she just leaves them completely alone, and that's to protect them from, smelling up the area with her scent or attracting predators to that nest site. So a lot of people, they'll find a bunny nest with a bunch of wild rabbits in it, and then they're like, oh, an abandoned bunny nest. Well, it's not abandoned. It's just the way it is. The mom's not around, and that's for a good reason. So don't be concerned if, oh, look at him, he fell right out. They're about 3 weeks old. This is about the time that they start jumping in and out of the nest box. So anyway, so he's gonna go bother his mom. He's like, give me some milk. So if you don't see your doe nursing or taking care of her bunnies, that's totally natural. What you need to do though is check on your bunnies. If they're growing and at a really young age, if they are you check their bellies. If their bellies are full, that means they've been eating. So if their little bellies are full and they're growing, that means she's taking care of them. Even if you just never see her in there, that doesn't mean she's not taking care of them. So don't freak out about that. Anyway, that was pretty much it. After that, you really don't need to do anything for them until about 3 weeks, till about the age that they are right now. Hey, little guy. And that's when they start jumping in and out of the nest box, and they'll actually start eating solid food. They'll start stealing mom's food, and they'll start eating the hay. That's totally not. Look, he's going to get in there and eat some of her food. No, maybe not. Anyway, so these guys, this is all of Fern's babies, and they're all healthy and alive, so I'm really happy with that. Alright, that was some of the most frequently asked questions I get. Look, he jumped back in there. He's totally fine.